and also an ITU academy. It has been holding this type of webinars on a regular basis, almost with a periodicity of once in a fortnight, on very important and very relevant topics, and topics that are perceived to have a significant impact on the telecom sector in India from time to time. And it's a series of webinars that we have been bringing over the last many years. In this series of webinars, today we have brought in this important topic, that is the implementation aspects of the Telecommunications ROW Roles 2024, particularly focusing on the roles of the state governments and the DOT field units, particularly the rural verticals. We are privileged to have with us Sri Neeraj Verma, the administrator of the Digital Bharat Nidhi, who has kindly consented to inaugurate today's webinar. I extend a warm welcome to Sri Neeraj Verma, the administrator of DBN, for his benign and gracious presence in this webinar. I also welcome the distinguished speakers on the occasion, Sri Devendra Kumar Rai, the Joint Secretary Telecom, and Sri Neeraj Kumar Verma, Neeraj Kumar, who is the DDG and the Mission Director for the National Broadband Mission in India. Today marks a very crucial moment as we gather to discuss the recently notified right-of-way rules, which came into effect from January 1st, 2025. These rules represent a pivotal step forward in streamlining the establishment and maintenance of the telecommunications infrastructure, aligning with India's goal of ensuring seamless connectivity across the nation. This initiative, led by the Department of Telecom, reflects our commitment to promoting efficient network development and connectivity, bridging the digital divides and supporting economic growth, and also a robust telecom infrastructure development in the country. In today's technical session, we'll be delving into the policy perspective of the right-of-way rules with Sri Devendra Kumar Rai, Joint Secretary Telecom, followed by an in-depth deliberation on the implementation aspects by Sri Neeraj Kumar, who is the DDG and the Mission Director of NBM. Their expertise and insights will bring undoubtedly valuable perspectives as we explore both the strategic and operational dimensions of these rules. I want to thank each one of you for being here today, as your involvement and insights are crucial to our shared objective of building a connected and a digitally inclusive India. Let us look forward for a productive and insightful session that will contribute meaningfully to the telecom sector's growth. I thank once again and extend a warm welcome to every participant in this webinar. Thank you. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, sir. Your valuable insights and brief about the webinar have helped us to understand the significance of this webinar and its impact on the role of state governments in creating digital infrastructure. It is a good fortune as well as privilege to have Sri Neeraj Verma, sir, Administrator, Digital Bharat Nidhi, among us as the chief guest for today's inaugural session. May I kindly request, sir, for an inaugural address, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Amit. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, Sri D.K. Chakravarti, DG NCA Ghaziabad, my colleague, Joint Secretary Shri Rai, DDG NCA, the faculty members of NCA, the officials from the state government, and LSS. Dear friend, it is my privilege to be amongst you all, addressing you on the very important topic of implementation of telecommunication ROW rules in the country. As you all know, this webinar was scheduled earlier also, but because some reason it could not be held. So I'm happy to note that we are able to finally convene this meeting and this webinar. And the two key persons are part of this webinar. One is Mr. Rai, who is a joint secretary and who was involved in the process of the formulation of the rules and its notification. So he will be able to tell you what are the policy changes that have been made. And secondly, Mr. Neeraj Kumar, who is DDG NBM, he will be able to tell you about uh, what is the work, what is the flow chart diagram, how it is the various features are being taken care of, and what is the design part of it. And I'm sure that with these two gentlemen, there would be a lot of questions amongst you all. You can ask them questions and you can get it clarified. So as you all know, we didn't have a very you know comprehensive ROW rules. Many times it was in the form of OM, and it had its own handicap. Uh, but fortunately, once the act was passed, uh, we worked on the rules, and we had gone through a complete process of us, putting it on public domain, asking for objections and all. We had done stakeholder consultations, and sometime towards the end of last year, the ROW rules was notified. This, I think, will pave the way for bridging the digital divide, which is what the government of India has been insisting. This is the top priority of Honorable Prime Minister in bridging the divide and connecting the unconnected through digital corridor. Uh, Before I briefly tell you what are the highlights of ROW rules, let me tell you two things, which is very important. One is that we had a case where uh, we had asked about deemed approval, and accordingly, one of the TSPs, they thought that the time is over, so they have got a deemed approval and they had executed the work. The state government felt that this is something which is not done, and they tried to undo that part, this approval part, and they removed this towers and all that. Uh, so the earlier the issue was that we didn't have a legal backing of all the things, but now with the legal backing, these things can be like, you cannot uh, presume that if you have not taken action, then it's not a deemed approval. So I request both Neeraj and Joint Secretary to briefly tell the audience about this deemed approval and its implications. Second is that there was a case where various municipalities had levied some charges, saying that it is furniture, and this was loaded on the TSPs. So how this present rule uh, work in this? What is the legal framework under which it is working, and how this is not possible is also something which the two gentlemen can highlight. you know 3-4 key highlights of this is that it's a very simplified application process. So there is going to be a single window system. For I'm looking at from the stakeholders point of view, where they had to go to different stages, different players desks. That is not possible. They will just apply on single window system, and they will get clearances over a period of time. Second is time bound clearances. Now again, this is something where this you will see in the presentation that you can't just sit on it. If you are sitting on an application, there will be time bound clearances. If you raise an objection, that has to be uh, reasonable. Otherwise, that is also going to be turned down. So this is also very important. And third is reduced fee and standardized charges. So earlier, like various states had got their own fees and charges. This is something which is not in tune with our scheme of things. So we have got a standardized charges, and this will help in ease of doing business for the businesses. uh, Two more points I would like to mention. One is that concept of special projects. So BharatNet, for example, amended BharatNet, we are going to implement. This is ambitious project. We have declared that as special projects. So in that, ROW charges, all the approvals will be considered as deemed approvals and there will not be any charges. And second is the concept of common ducts and cable corridors. So what is going to be the charges and this is still a work in progress, but it will pave the way where we will have a common corridor and it will give a neat solution to this critical digital infrastructure. So I'm sure that there are a lot of questions you may have and you would like to know about it. This is one-off webinar, may not be complete, but maybe this is more like an introductory webinar. After that, you can think about going in details in a particular component of that, and you can tell the key participants, because I think that both state government officials and LSS, they are very key participants in this. I would tell you one thing, that for any infrastructure project, there is a concept called condition precedents, and condition precedents of government is where the government will have to come forward and do the needful. So providing a work front through ROW is one of the condition precedents by the state government, whether it is through contract or otherwise also. So unless the state government provides the work front, whether it is in a public project or in a private project, the project will not take place. And I've written to the various states about a small cell, because if you want to do the 5G at even far off areas, then we require a small cell architecture to be mapped. So this is required so that even 5G can be rolled out smoothly. So this issue of ROW very important for infrastructure to be rolled out in time. I'm very happy to note that NCA has organized this important webinar on important topic, and they have got those speakers who actually matter. So I wish all the best, and I'm sure that you all will be benefited immensely in this webinar. Unfortunately, I have another meeting to attend. So after this inaugural session, I'll leave. But I'm sure all of you who are participating, please participate till the end and get your doubts cleared. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your words of wisdom and encouragement have set a positive tone for this webinar. As we come to close of this inaugural session, may I kindly request Sri H.S. Zakar sir, Deputy Director General, National Communications Academy, Ghaziabad, to deliver the vote of thanks for the inaugural session, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. Respected Sri Neeraj Verma, Administrator, Digital Bharat Nidhi, Sri D.K. Chakravarti, DG NCA Ghaziabad, Sri D.K. Roy, JS Telecom, DOT, Sri Neeraj Kumar, DDG, NBM and Mission Director, National Broadband Mission, all the distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. With the inaugural address by respected Sri Neeraj Verma, we are inching towards closure of this inaugural ceremony of this webinar. It is a matter of pride as well as privilege for me to present a vote of thanks to all those who contributed in making this webinar successful. First of all, I convey my sincere gratitude and thanks to respected Sri Neeraj Verma, Administrator, Digital Bharat Nidhi, for his inspiring and motivating address. Sir, we are very grateful to you as you accepted our request, invitation, spared your valuable time, and inaugurated this webinar. Sir, with your address, you have set the tone of the seminar for fruitful discussion. I am sure that all the participants have been greatly benefited by your words of wisdom and guidance. In your inaugural address, you have touched upon the key highlights of ROW Rules 2024 and stressed on the need to work in collaborative mode to address various associated challenges and bridge the digital divide. Sir, you have rightly mentioned that these rules will play a pivotal role in transforming India's digital infrastructure landscape, fulfilling our vision of Digital India and bringing connectivity to nook and corner of the country. Sir, thank you very much again. I convey my sincere thanks to respected Sri D.K. Chakravarti, DG NCA, for delivering welcome address. Sir, you have nicely explained the objective of holding this webinar and role the state government officers can play in creating digital infrastructure in their respective states. Sir, you have been a source of inspiration and motivation for all of us at NCA Ghaziabad. Under your leadership and guidance, we have been conducting training programs on latest and pertinent subjects for the benefit of all the stakeholders. Thank you very much, sir. A very big thanks to all the distinguished participants of this webinar who are attending from various departments of state governments, UT governments, as well as officers from DUT LSAs. It is the presence of the officers, participants, which makes any event successful ultimately. As the webinar moves further, you will be getting opportunity to listen and interact with eminent speakers like Sri D.K. Roy, Joint Secretary Telecom DOT Headquarters, and Sri Neeraj Kumar, Mission Director, National Broadband Mission. A heartfelt thanks to both the speakers for sparing their valuable time and agreeing to deliver the sessions in this webinar. Finally, I convey thanks to my fellow faculty members of TX and NGS division of NCA Ghaziabad for making all the arrangements for conduction of this webinar. I will close my vote of thanks with greetings to all of you again and wish that we will have a very engrossing as well as fruitful discussions ahead in the webinar. Thanks to all of you again for being part of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With due permission of the chief guest, we would like to start the technical session of the webinar. The first session of webinar includes Telecommunications Right-of-Way Rules 2024, Policy Perspective, and the session is going to be facilitated by Sri Devendra Kumar Rai, sir, Joint Secretary, Telecom, Government of India. It is an honor for me to introduce Sri D.K. Rai, sir. Sir is an Indian Defence Account Service Officer of 2000 batch. He is currently working as Joint Secretary Telecom in DOT since 22nd February 2024. He is a MSc Physics from Institute of Science, Banaras Hindu University, and an MTech from IIT Kanpur. In his distinguished service, he has held various positions as Financial Controller in Ministry of Defense and has worked with the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission in Africa, the Army, Navy, Border Road Organization, Indian Coast Guard, and notably as the Director in the 7th Central Pay Commission and Director Sagar Mala in Ministry of Shipping. He has also worked as Joint Secretary Establishment, Planning and Parliament and FM Maritime Systems in Ministry of Defense. Sri Rai has participated in trainings and international workshops in China, Thailand, Australia, and has spoken at various events and conferences of national and international repute. Sir has received Chief of Army Staff's commendation for streamlining payment system for JCOs and NCOs of Indian Army and the Raksha Mantri Award for Excellence for Implementation of IT System in MOD. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Amit, for such a nice word. And as already it has been told by Sri H.S. Jhakar, the fulcrum of the trainees, which are across from various states, DOT headquarters, LSA. I think it would be a good opportunity for me to interact with them, and if I can throw some light over the various aspects of right of ways, that may be useful and useful for central government, state government both. To start my presentation on the policy perspective, first I will share 2 slides. Is it visible to you all, this presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, please make it in full screen mode, sir.
Right. I'm doing that.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to cover overall regulatory framework for the right of way. As you understand, it's really very complex and diverse. The reason being, there are so many agencies involved into this, plethora of agencies at various levels, and which is makes, I mean, things very complex, diverse in the sense, you know, the right of way rules and its implementation at various level and interpretation. I mean, the approach of the, I mean, various entities involved make it really very, I mean, complex. Same time, there's a issue related to state versus center, entry number 31 on list 1 of the 7th schedule of Constitution of India, land and building. And same time with the rapid development of telecom infrastructure and, kind of high-tech equipment, telecom equipment, things are also getting, I mean, complex and diverse. As you would be aware that in case of USA, China, the length of optical fiber led, that is something to the tune of 1,000 I mean lakh kilometer. I mean this is, I mean, but here in case of India, we have led, I mean, 41.2 lakh kilometer. You can, I mean, understand, see that how much optical fiber we have to lay if we have to come at par with the many advanced nation. And that is where I'm decluttering this complex and diverse regulatory framework become very, very important. As you see, I mean, as on date, we have installed 29 lakh BTS, but in times to come, as earlier discussed, we are identifying street furniture where we can put more small cells. So that means number of BTS to be installed, that's going to grow very fast. And same where by streamlining regulatory framework for the ROW, we can ensure, smooth installation of BTS for the 5G and in times to come for 6G also. Another very important, tower install as on date is 8 lakh, but if you see the tower fiberage, it is stand to 40% of total 8 lakh. This is itself, I mean, a big challenge for us in the sense, as many towers getting fiberized, that to proportion, things getting better. But if towers are not fiberized, that means quality of service, data rate, bandwidth, I mean, what we are expecting from the telecom service provider, that may not be, I mean, to the our expectation, required quality level. Then 4G saturation project. And here again, these are being undertaken in a very remote, hilly areas, and it has its own challenges in terms of, I mean, regulatory framework and various other issues. Then, as I have already said, rollout of 5G by utilizing street furniture. You would be aware, DOT is very much pursuing with the every state government duties to map these street furniture on the PM Gati Shakti portal, and on this, our colleague DDG NBM will throw light. This is also something, I mean, very important. We are trying to declutter so that mapping and availability of street furniture become, very robust. One very important thing I want to say, and that is where we are very, very concerned, that 10% increase in internet subscriber results in 3.2% increase in rate of growth of state per capita GDP. And I wish all representative from the state may try to appreciate this as good facilitation you provide for. As much robust increase in, I mean, internet subscriber, your state GDP will get benefited in, I mean, that proportion. Therefore, it should be on your top of agenda, to ensure a very workable ROW ecosystem, and you should ensure very smooth rollout of, optical fiber installation of tower, although so that, increase in internet subscriber become substantial, and that should lead to growth of state GDP. Then I think I will skip this. I will directly come to rule. I want to discuss, I mean, some of the important. Is this PDF document visible to all?
Visible, sir, visible.
Visible. Okay. Basically, what we have done extra over IT ROW, Indian Telegraph ROW rules 2016. Those points I will enumerate and discuss so that you could appreciate the improvement which we have made over the last IT ROW rule 2016. To start with, if you see definition of force major event we have introduced here, and I will highlight this. Please see this. Reason being, we have seen there are some of the local bodies, I mean, they are not giving, ROW permission for 2 to 3 years. And they have not provided for deemed permission provision. We can understand there could be genuine reason like force major event. But beyond that, I mean, it is not, I mean, explicable to anyone. That's why we have brought it very clearly that the maximum time given for the giving ROW permission may get extended by force major event. But beyond that, I mean, it's not, I mean, acceptable. So, and these are the, I mean, criteria for the force major event. Then we have defined mobile tower more appropriately by including, it which may be dismantled and reassembled at another location. So that it will help in tax matter to TSPs. Basically, they should get GST waiver on mobile tower, and earlier this particular part was missing, so we have included this in the definition of mobile tower. Then coming to overground telecommunication network, if you see our telecommunication service providers, they keep installing COW cell and will, and sometimes local bodies, they don't treat it as a telecommunication infrastructure. So for their clarity, we have include telecommunication infrastructure that is portable. So that, I mean, for more clarity to local bodies and state government, they should treat cell and will as a telecommunication infrastructure. Then, based on the latest development, we have also tried to optimize the height of pole, and that we have done in this rule. Then the definition of a small cell we have rationalized. We have only retained the detail of coverage of distance up to 2 kilometers. Other details we thought it's not going to add any value. That's why we have removed that. Then coming to next point, intent of our rule is that almost 100% processing of ROW applications should happen through the portal. And that is where we have added this particular, sub rule 3, that all application notification, clarification, permissions, objections, or rejections under these rules shall be made through the portal to extend specified under these rules. Then come to, next additional point, validity and renewal of permission of right of way. For the growth of sector, it is very important that service provider should not be subjected to approaching public entities, frequently. And keeping the spirit of ease of doing business, we have introduced, you have brought this particular thing that right of way permission will be co-terminus with, license, authorization granted. And even for renewal, we have, brought a provision that continue to be valid for term of any renewed authorization license or term of any renewed exemption. Reason being, we have come across certain cases where telecom service provider ISPs are subjected to come every 2 years to local bodies for the renewal of their license, and we thought it is not interest of ease of doing business, and we should have a good regime. Therefore, this going to really very important provision in telecommunication right of way rules 2024. As we are aware that sometimes facility provider requires surveys to be survey to be undertaken. So we have also brought in the rules and made it online, so that the provision related to survey should be clear to TSPs and same time public entity. Then one of the issues which our TSPs was facing regarding calculation of expenses in consequence of work proposed to be undertaken by facility provider. So we have introduced word estimated, so that it's basically estimation of the expenses, and that would help TSPs in furnishing the information. Then we have made very clear in the rule that no fee, charge, rent, annuity, or any other financial levy or contribution compensation in any form shall be applicable for right of way related to underground telecommunication network pertaining to any project notified by central government. Here we have just listened to Administrator Sir, and he's implementing one of the project, BharatNet, you all would be aware. This project has been notified by central government as a special project, and this particular clause will be applicable to that particular project. Then we made process of grant of ROW permission, very, very structured in the sense that timeline has been fixed. And what processes in what timeline has to be followed by public entity and facility provider, that has been brought into the rules. Like if you see, we have said if public entity wants to seek clarification further documents, then within a period of 30 days from date of receipt of such application, they can do. And same time we are saying that in one consolidated requisition, that means एक बार में आप पूछ लीजिए, ऐसा नहीं कि आप बार बार पूछते रहे. We made it very clear, in one consolidated requisition you have to ask. Then we are saying, we have fixed the maximum permissible limit for the grant of ROW permission, that is 60 days. It means within 67 days, public entity has to give the grant of ROW permission. And same time, we are specifying what basically grant of permission will contain. Like area of cross section, area of cross section of underground telecommunication network for which right of is granted. We are specifying the formulation shall be the length of duct multiplied by diameter of the duct multiplied by number of ducts. Same time, we are saying specify whether permission is subject to undertaking, and bank guarantee for restoration of property. Then we are saying, rules, mentions specify other conditions, including time measure to mitigate public So we have, I mean, brought it clearly what permission should contain. And we are also emphasizing on this particular part, public entities shall give due consideration to mode of execution as a specified facility provider. I mean, basically, we are bringing primacy to the fact that public entities generally consider the mode of execution, I mean, proposed by the facility provider. Then we are again, same rule is mentioning that in case public entity has reason to reject the application, it shall upload within period of 45 days from date of receipt of application such region on portal, and facility provider shall respond to such region on portal within a period of 15 days. Clear timeline process has been put forth in this, I mean, right of way rule. Then if you see, I mean, in sub rule 4, public entity shall after due consideration the response of facility provider decide to either accept or reject the application and shall upload its decision on portal within a period of 7 days. That means if a public entity and facility provider is following complete process, that means public entity on 67th day has to decide to either accept or reject the application for right of way and shall upload its decision on the portal within, that is, I mean, on 67th day, public entity has to accept or reject and same time upload its decision on the portal. But same time, we are creating a safeguard provided any decision rejected permission shall record reason for the rejection in writing. We are not, giving a freedom. I mean, they just reject without valid reason. I mean, now, I mean, local bodies, state government has to clearly record the reason for the rejection in writing. And same time, I mean, we are once it is rejected, I mean, then we are bringing the provision, I mean, in the rules that entity shall refund to facility provider 90% be paid under within a period of 15 days from date of such rejection. And then, I mean, in sub rule 6, provision of deemed permission we have brought in. If public entity fail to either grant or reject permission within timeline specified under this rule, permission shall be deemed to have been granted and such system generated deemed permission shall be automatically uploaded. My request to all state government UTs, I mean, as a responsible public entity, this is something very, I mean, important provision. I mean, we have to ensure ease of doing business in our state. And that is where, I mean, we also, to ensure that we brought this particular provision. And my request that they should get their portal modified so that this provision, I mean, get implemented. Then another, I mean, important provision we are bringing here, where deemed permission under sub rule 6 has been granted, given by the system, public entity within a period of 7 days generate through the portal terms and conditions as such deemed permission, which shall be based on the principle under sub rule 2. If you see, I mean, we have mentioned here about sub rule 2, what generally grant of permission should contain. I mean, same thing, I mean, here we are mentioning after within 7 days of, I mean, grant of deemed permission, they should generate terms and conditions as such deemed permission, which shall be based on the permission under sub rule 2. Then one very important provision we are, I mean, bringing here, that public entities shall not levy any fee, charge, rent, annuity, compensation, or entry fee for access or seek any other financial contribution in any form for establishment, operation, or maintenance of underground telecom other than those permitted under these rules. What we are saying very clearly, I mean, we have got a schedule at the end of this particular rule. We have mentioned charges for the various kind of processes, and public entity cannot charge beyond that. And we have brought this very clearly in this particular sub-rule 11. Then if you see, I have discussed about the definition of force measure, and we have also brought in terms of provision under the Rule 7. Timeline is specified for the execution of work pursuant to any permission granted under this rule shall stand extended by duration of any force measure event as may be notified by public. We have made it very, very clear. Any extension beyond 67 days to be limited to the extent of any force major event, not more than that. I mean, this is the, intent of this particular provision. Now, coming to chapter 3, establishment, operation, maintenance of overground telecommunication network in public property. I will not, cover this, reason being it is modeled more or less on the underground, telecommunication network. And if I will see something very unique in this particular case, then I will, bring to your, for your appreciation. One distinct thing is here, if you see here also, we have brought out very clearly what permission public should contain. And there it is, underground telecommunication, here overground. That's why, area of overground telecommunication network will have different connotation. And that is where it has been explained for the removal of doubt. Where permission for a mobile tower has been granted, area of overground telecommunication network shall include mobile tower as well as supporting infrastructure on the ground, including base transceiver station and engine alternative. So while giving the permission, public entities, should be clear for what area they have to give the right of way permission. And again, this important rule that public entities shall not levy any fee, charge, annuity, other than what is specified in the schedule. Now, it's, Rule 10, establishment of temporary overground telecommunication network. Here, basically, seeing the difficulties being faced by telecom service provider, ISPs, we have slightly, more reasonable time to TSPs, from 60 to 90 days. That is one additional value addition we have done. Then, another value addition, here, number of times central government, state government in public interest, they order, telecom service providers to install telecommunication facilities on designated places. Here, what value addition we have done as a DOT, that here we have said very clearly to central government, state government, you give direction to both, not only to telecom service providers, but you also give to public entity. Reason being, right of a permission has to be given by public entity. So that is where, we have brought in rule that direction will be issued to both. And even we have brought out clearly for what direction to be issued. Like if you say in the case of authorized entity telecom service provider, what we are saying, the type of such required, its location as provided public entity, the duration for which such temporary over is required to be maintained, relevant identify public property on which this temporary overground telecom may be established, and provide necessary right of way permission to facility provider within the time limits as may be specified in such direction. And then, one more proviso we are bringing here. In case facility provider seeks to use temporary overground telecommunication network so established pursuant to direction under sub-rule 3 beyond the period specified in such direction, it shall seek permission of public entity for such usage and provision of rule 8 and 9 shall. I mean, it's more has come from the spirit of ease of doing business that through rules we are providing. I mean, that means he need not to apply separately. I mean, you know. Then, I mean, rule number 11, usage of street furniture for installation of a small cell and telecommunication line. Here it is again, I mean, model on pattern of overground telecommunication infrastructure. And only one one more value addition this I want to share with you. This is, I mean, you know, important. Facility provider may submit through the portal a single application for and telecommunication or multiple sites at its option with information specified. I mean, public entity receiving issue a single or multiple permission as case may be. This is something, I mean, you know, progressive, I mean, provision we have brought in for the ease of doing business for, you know, facility provider and same time for comfort of a public entity. Then moving to chapter 4, I mean, provision applicable for both overground and underground telecommunication networking, public property. I think there is, yes, I mean, this is even something very important right of way for the special project, rule number 12. This is what I have discussed, I mean, a few minutes back, like BharatNet is a special project. Wherever central government in public interest notify certain projects for establishment of as a special, I mean, you know, grant of right of in these, you know, will be automatic in the sense, I mean, once it has been applied on ROW portal, it will be treated as a deemed permission. And intent is that, you know, these projects has a special purpose or overarching, I mean, you know, objective to make, I mean, you know, bring country to greater heights. And that's why, I mean, this particular provision has been brought in. And as I have said already, BharatNet has been, I mean, declared one of the special project using this particular rule 12. Then coming to rule number 13. Here, I mean, what we have asked telecom service provider, maintenance of up-to-date digital information relating to all underground telecommunication network established such facility provider, including as-built information updated as frequency as specified central government through the positional intelligence and other appropriate technology, which shall be shared, updated, and given through portal with designated officer as may be noted. Reason being, even for the public entity, central government, this information going to be very, very useful. How, I mean, you know, rollout of further infrastructure should take place. Even it will help a lot in planning, maintenance. So that's why, I mean, we have brought it very, very clearly this particular provision for the benefit of, you know, TSPs, public entity, central government. Then rule number 14. I think it's, I mean, more so, I mean, same. Then chapter 5, establishment, operation, maintenance of telecommunication network in property other than public property. It's basically for private property. And here, I want to make it very, very clear to all, I mean, participants that ROW rules very clearly brings out that no permission is required by facility provider for right of way on the private, I mean, property. Somewhere, I mean, people, I mean, some public entities ask, but I mean, rule is very, very clear. Only thing is that what rule provides in case of establishment operation, I mean, in case of establishment, operation, maintenance of mobile tower or pole over such property, facility providers are prior to commencement of such establishment submit information in writing in form provided for this purpose on portal to concerned public entity along with detail of building or structure where establishment of mobile tower or pole is proposed and a copy of certification by structural engineer authorized by the public entity attesting to structural safety of building a structure where mobile tower pole is proposed. So I think, I mean, there should be very clear in case of private property, this is the ROW rule position, and my request, it should be followed by all public entities and state government. And one more important provision, I mean, we are bringing a public entity shall not levy any fee, charge, and compensation. Sorry for, I mean, disturbance. One more, I mean, important provision here. I mean, a public entity shall not levy any fee, charges, rent, annuity, compensation, or require any bank guarantee, or any other financial firm establish operation telecommunication in property other than. I mean, that is also very important. And my request to all state government, local bodies, I mean, please, I mean, follow these ROW rules 2000 in strict. Then, I mean, this is one of the general provision. I will not, I mean, cover this. Coming to common duct and cable corridor, I mean, chapter 6, rule number 17. This is very important provision. It has been brought into our Telecommunication Act and our ROW rules for first time. As you would be aware, development of common duct and cable corridor really do wonders to telecommunication, laying of telecommunication infrastructure, and that's why it has been brought. And we are almost continuously engaged with all state governments and UTs to roll out common ducts, cable corridors, at least for the telecommunication infrastructure and electricity cables. And this particular rule provide where central government provides power to central government to notify an infrastructure, a class of infrastructure projects under Section 15 of Act. The public entity having ownership, control, or management over such shall provide for online application process to enable person to make an application for purpose of installation of telecommunication networks through such common duct, conduit, or cable corridor established in such projects. It's very, very, I mean, clear here that central government has got a power to notify an infrastructure project class of infrastructure projects under a public entity, and public entity having ownership and control management, I mean, they have to provide for an online application process so that facility providers can make application for purpose of installation of telecommunication network. So this is something, I mean, in times to come, I mean, we keep notifying infrastructure, I mean, a class of infrastructure project under this category. And here, for those infrastructure projects, state government UTs, I mean, public entity has to provide, online process for the application. Then one very important, I mean, provision we have brought, that provided that such charges shall not exceed amount as maybe not. Just before that, I will bring here, another important provision. Public entity which is responsible for infrastructure projects or class of infrastructure projects shall make available such common ducts or conduits or cable corridors for the installation of telecommunication network on open access basis, that is non-discriminatory, non-exclusive, subject to payment of charges based on prevailing market rates and principle of cost recovery over a minimum period of 25 years. The principle for the cost recovery, I mean, for payment of charges has been made very, very clear on the prevailing market rates and principle of cost recovery over the minimum period of 25 years. And same time, it is also brought in the rules that provided that such charges shall not exceed amount as may be notified by central government from time to time for such infrastructure projects, class of infrastructure projects. Then, I mean, coming to other provisions, I will skip. Then, then I mean, I will also skip rule number 19. Coming to, I mean, rule number 20, this is something very important. Damage to telecommunication network resulting from action under rule 19. I want to, I mean, go through it. Without prejudice to provision of sub-rule 4 of rule 19. I think this is the rule 4, I mean, where a facility fails to respond to notice under sub-rule 1 within timeline specified under sub-rule 2, the person uploading such notice shall undertake exercise of legal rights with reasonable precaution and with regard to telecommunication network that is likely to be impacted by exercise of such rights. Now, what has been said in rule 20, that without prejudice to provision of sub-rule 4 of rule 19, a person who is in exercise of legal right under said rule causes damage to underground, overground telecommunication network duly placed in accordance with the provision of Act, and these rules shall be liable to pay compensation for such damage to facility provider. This is something very important, and somewhere I request state government, local bodies to, I mean, implement this so that at least protection and maintenance of, critical telecommunication network can be ensured. Then quantum of compensation of damage under sub-rule 1 can be computed based on expenses incurred by facility provider in undertaking repair, restoration of such affected telecommunication network. And every dispute relating to compensation under shall be addressed in accordance with the sub-rule subsection 2 of the rule. I mean, basically that will to be, heard by the district judge. Then another important clarification in the rule, that subject to provision of subsection 3 of section, any charge payable to public entity under these shall be exclusive of taxes, cess, levies as applicable under law of time being enforced. And another important, I mean, related to interpretation, that means the number of days which we have mentioned, that will include all public holidays. Now coming to schedule. I will also just bring, I mean, value addition which has been done in this particular provision. See, I mean, here, application for examining of the establishment of underground telecommunication. Here we have included, including submarine cable on land and in the territorial waters. And basically, we have come across some of the maritime boats are charging very, very, exorbitantly And it's very important. I mean, again, I want to emphasize these are very critical infrastructure projects like road, like electricity. And somewhere, I mean, my request to state utility government, I mean, that should be treated. It's going to help state, I mean, enormously in terms of, contribution to state GDP and state of ease of living to a person living in your state. Then another important provision we have put is this, that provided that in case of laying of underground telecommunication network through the horizontal directional digging method, compensation for restoration of public property shall be limited to area of pits. It has, I mean, two purposes. One, it will promote, I mean, advanced method for the laying of the optical fiber cable, resulting in less, I mean, damage to road and sideways. Same time, it will also help in, lesser charges to be payable. Now, another, important provision we have brought it here, provided that public entities shall provide the facility provider the option of payment of annual fees in advance for a period of 5 years through a consolidated payment equal to 5 times amount. I mean, the reason being there are so many street furniture, number of street furniture. For the ease of doing business, this particular provision has been brought and option has been provided to, TSP facility provider. That is all from my side. Now I will, invite questions from the participants if they have any to ask.
So I request the participants to raise questions of any doubt. If there is any doubt, please, we will enable you.
Sanjay V. Sharma.
Or you can read out from the message, Amit, the questions.
Sir, good afternoon. I have some questions on this. As per towers on private properties, number one is we have to just inform in the portal itself. But in Punjab, there is for release of electricity connections, the Punjab Power Corporation Limited requires a NOC. But so we are requesting the department to issue us a acknowledgement receipt wherein they should mention that there is no requirement of any NOC for release of electricity connection on the private sites. So this is required to be implemented so that for tower operations, electricity connection can be easily given to the FPs.
Actually, it is implementation issue. I'll request Neeraj Kumar Sahab, DDG NBM, if he can, throw light on this.
No, we will have to take up the issue with the electricity department and the concerned state government.
It's basically implementation issues as rightly brought out by DDG NBM, and I need to be taken with state government to reach out there.
So next
I think
question.
next Atul Jain, Broadband India Forum.
Yes.
Yeah, Amit, आप ही coordinate कर लीजिए. I mean,
Atul ji, you, Mr. Atul, you can raise your question, please. Next speaker, DOT Mizoram. Next speaker is DOT Mizoram. Next participant.
Good evening. Actually, I am DDG Vivaram. This is regarding, is there any provision in the ROW rules which mandates the use of seabird?
Sir, your voice is very less.
Yeah, थोड़ा सा आप loud बोलिए.
Is there any provision in the ROW regarding mandatory use of seabird app?
Seabird, I'm not able to.
Call before you dig, sir. Call before you dig.
No. Is there any provision in the ROW rules which mandates use of seabird in the ROW rules?
As a CUBID, CUBD,
Yeah.
Rule 18 and Rule 19 deals with CBOD.
No, but there is no mention of CBOD as such. It is general.
No, CBOD is a name. It has mentioned that you will have to upload on the portal and portal का नाम CBOD है. इसके लिए नोटिफिकेशन जारी होने के लिए फाइल पुटअप हो गई. आपके बताया होगा साहब, हमने ये सेक्रेटरी साहब ने भी कहा है कि जो पोर्टल लिखा है बिकॉज ROW रूल्स में जेनेरिक नाम लिखा जाता है बट उसका स्पेसिफिक लेटर निकाला जा रहा है.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, we'll do the necessary notification for that. So already it has been clarified by DDG NBM that rule 18 and 19, that's very much, cater for it.
Sir, the next question can be raised by MPLSA. MPLSA. Next, Prakash Patil, sir. Next question, Prakash Patil ji.
Am I audible, sir? MPLSA.
MPLSA, okay. Yes, you can raise your question.
So my question is regarding this standing number 31 of list 1 of 7 schedules. Sir has mentioned it, that framework, regulatory framework related issue. So if you can give some details.
Once again, entry number 31 of list 1 of 7 schedule you are talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is related to land and building, and that basically, comes under the state list. And problem is that somewhere it has been treated, mobile tower has been treated, part of building, and there was litigation also. But that is where, if you see this time in new Telecommunication Act, we brought out very, very clear that the property is very distinct, telecommunication infrastructure is very distinct from the property. To take care of this particular problem, that it's very, very distinct from the property, and now we are on proper legislative basis agenda it.
Thank
you. So next question is from DI Tech Goa. DI Tech Goa, please.
Sir, hello.
Yes,
sir, can you hear me? Yeah. Sir, as per the rules, can we have a multiple because there are various agencies, they are doing the work like PWD, Goa Electricity Department, and other this. So which owns the the land? Okay. So can they be a public? Can we have a different public authorities for this portal as per the rules?
I will request Ndesh Kumar Sahab, DDG NPM.
Different public authority means what?
There is not a single public authority, sir. There are many public authorities here.
That's right, but we are asking each of the state government to have a unified portal wherein multiple public authorities can be present there.
Okay, and can the state have a single agency also, sir? Single means
yes,
single,
they can have single agency or multiple agencies.
Okay, so single agency can also give a permissions.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Next question. Next question is from TG Himachal. TG Himachal Pradesh. So we are taking the last question from Sri Abhishek Kumar Chauhan. Sri Abhishek Kumar Chauhan, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, this is Mridul Sharma from Himachal Pradesh, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
Sir, as we were discussing regarding the private property telegram infrastructure establishment, sir. Sir, how in the previous time, sir, what we used to do is whenever an application comes to us, we used to give it to the concerned MC or ULB, sir, regarding private side, sir. In the sir municipal corporation, there is or the areas or the infrastructure which comes under uh, TCP areas. We have to verify. That was on our part. We used to verify the application, sir, because there were cases where the structure was illegal or unauthorized, sir. So how are we used to in the current scenario? How we are going to verify this, sir?
If you see already before establishment, of the telecommunication infrastructure, they will upload these information. You will come to know like structural safety related, thing they will upload on the portal through which you will come to know.
Sir, let me quote in sir particular case, sir. In Shimla, there were 2-3 places जहां पे सर जो स्ट्रक्चर था वो मतलब अनऑथराइज था सर, या उनके पेंडिंग जो ड्यूज थे वो पेंडिंग थे सर. तो सर वो हमें हमारे नोटिस में मतलब आया था, तो वो जो भी मतलब रहता है वो म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन जो है अपने हिसाब से सर वो टेक अप करती थी और वो मना कर देती थी टीएसपी को कि इनके नो ड्यूज हैं अभी, और ये जो बिल्डिंग है वो अनऑथराइज्ड या इनका अभी ड्यूज पेंडिंग है. तो सर अभी के समय में लीगैलिटीज और उसको कौन डील करेगा सर फिर?
नहीं, इसमें जो आपका केस है कि मतलब यू आर साइटिंग द एग्जांपल ऑफ सर्टेन ओनर्स हु हैव नॉट पेड
ओनली पर्टिकुलरली इन द एमसी एरिया सर. बाकी जो रूरल एरिया वहां तो ऐसा दिक्कत नहीं है सर.
नहीं,
बट जो एमसी का एरिया है,
I just want to put forth my view on this. Like you would having a database where you would be knowing these buildings, owners, they are defaulter, they have not paid. In
नहीं,
case
नहीं सर, ऐसा हमारे पास है नहीं सर, है नहीं सर ये हमारे पास.
But for the ease of doing business, at least you should have, so that whenever they are uploading the structural safety related, report of that particular building and tower. At least by this way, you can, very well determine that, okay, there definitely you can intervene. Since, but where everything is, complete as per your, rules, there I think that there is no requirement of any intervention from, my MCI ULB.
जी सर.
But,
जी सर.
हाँ, प्लीज.
दूसरा सर एक पॉइंट था सर इसी के रिगार्डिंग, जहां पे सर रेट्स वगैरह का था सर. जो स्ट्रीट फर्नीचर का यूजेज है सर, पार्ट 3 रूल नंबर 11.8 में सर. सर उसमें अभी हमने ऑप्शन, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने ये ऑप्शन दिया है कि जो टीएसपी है वो 5 साल की अग्रिम राशि जो है वो दे सकता है सर. ये प्रोविजन है सर. अब सर टीएसपी इस कोटिंग की हमने सिर्फ 5 साल का ही देना है. 5 साल तक ही देंगे, 5 साल के बाद नहीं
if
देंगे.
they are using beyond 5 years, they have to pay. It's not only for 5 years.
सर उसके लिए हमने सर एक क्लैरिफिकेशन तो हमने सर वो दे दी थी. एक हमने सर कॉरिजेंडम भी इशू कर दिया था सभी के लिए कि ये सिर्फ अग्रिम राशि के लिए ही है, 5 साल की अग्रिम राशि के लिए. तो सर ये इंटरप्रेट इस तरीके से करें कि हमने सिर्फ 5 साल का ही देना है सर.
No, if you want clarification, we can clarify it. Not at all.
एक मतलब वो चले जाता ना सर, तो वो ऐसा था क्योंकि टीएसपी उसको इंटरप्रेट इस तरीके से कर रहे हैं कि सिर्फ 5 साल का ही पोल रेंटल देना है हमने.
टीएसपी यहाँ पर भी प्रेजेंट है, और अभी ध्यान से सुन लें कि इसका मतलब है कि 5 साल का मतलब एट ए टाइम है ये. इसके बाद जब 18 साल शुरू होगा फिर से आप 1 साल का दो या फिर से 5 साल का देना पड़ेगा. तो I think we are clarifying it here on the platform. All the TSPs are here.
Sir, thank you for the insightful, valuable insights, sir. Sir, because of paucity of time, sir, we can take further questions after the second session, sir. Sir, thank you, sir, JST sir, for your valuable insights on the policy and policy perspective of telecommunications right-of-way rules 2024. Thank you very much, sir.
So now I can log out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you by NCA for inviting me for this particular, lecture. I am so much thankful to NCA. And it was a really wonderful session with all participants. And my special thank to Neeraj Kumar Saab for, helping me in, answering some of the questions raised by the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, moving on the next session of webinar, it includes telecommunication right-of-way rules 2024 implementation aspects and role of state government in creating digital infrastructure. And the session is going to be facilitated by Sri Neeraj Kumar, DDG Mission Director, National Broadband Mission, DOT. It is an honor for me to introduce Neeraj, sir. Mr. Neeraj Kumar is an ITS officer of 1990 batch. He is BTech in Electronics and postgraduate in Public Policy from IIM Bangalore. With an experience of more than 30 years, Mr. Kumar has spearheaded many new services and products launches, which have been a game changer in the telecom industry, including the first to launch large nationwide MPLS IP network in 2003, mass scale broadband rollout in BSNL, intelligent network services in BSNL, 3G value-added services like video on demand, mobile TV. He conceived and handled Umang project, which provides 1500 plus major government services through a single mobile app, and was dedicated to the nation by Honorable PM on 23rd November 2017. The app has a user base of more than 5 crore and bagged Best Mobile App Award from UAE Government Digital India and DARPG Awards. Since December 2021, he is working as Mission Director, National Broadband Mission. In a short period, he got the centralized right-of-way portal, Gati Shakti Sanchar, and Call Before You Dig CBUD mobile app launched. He is also responsible for development of DOT layers on PM Gati Shakti, NMP platform, right-of-way Telecom Act. He is also a member of the National Planning Group. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Amit. If my window is visible.
Yes, sir. Window is visible, sir. Full screen may be done, sir, please.
It is full screen only.
Sir, it is not right now. Maybe taking time, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. So we already have a detailed presentation from Mr. Rai, and he explained the various acts, provisions of our act and also the ROW rules. So some of my presentation may also look like a repetition, but maybe we will be open for discussion if you have any issues. So now is it visible full slide? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Still it is not full.
Okay. What's the issue? So as you know that this Telecom Act 2023 consists of supersedes all the previous acts and consolidates all the inputs, and based on the act, the telecom right-of-way rules have been notified on 17 September, which are in force from 1st of January. And one of the most important thing is that the whole act and rules will be digital by design. That means all the activities which are to be taken should be through a portal. So this is I think, some history about the rules, what happened in the past, but I will not get into details. Some of the definitions, what is public entity. So this act defines what is public entity. That means the central government, the state government, local authority, any authority, body or company or institution incorporated or established by the central government or the state government or under any statute, or any non-government entity vested with the ownership, control or management of any public facility. For example, जो Delhi का international airport है, that can come here. So what the question comes, which are those entities which are public entities? So many public entities are clear, But the entities like Noida International Airport or Delhi International Airport, what is the list of those entities or type of entities, that is not clear. So we have to come out with a notification about the definition of public entity. So that is in process. Second point is the facility provider. So who is the facility provider? So all the nomenclature of TSP, ISP, IP, that is now replaced by facility provider. So anybody who is providing services as per the central government licensing will be facility provider. And there are two types of properties. One is the public property. That means the property owned by central, state government or local authority or an institution, और नॉन गवर्नमेंट एंटिटी मैनेजिंग पब्लिक फैसिलिटी जो पपी के नाम से है. एंड सेकेंड कैटेगरी इज the property which is other than public property. So normally we call it private property, but it may have many connotations, because private property means owned by any private person, but it may not include from trust or Hindu undivided family and many things. So we are not saying private property, we are saying other than public property. And mobile
Sir,
tower.
Sorry, sir. Sir, slides are not moving, sir. Slides maybe.
Slides are not moving. So can you put up the presentation then? I have forwarded to you.
Sir,
or
now it is moving, sir. Just I can do that also if required, sir.
Okay. So be prepared next time if it happens.
Okay.
So maybe I will again go to slideshow. So mobile tower is also defined because there was a request from industry. Then that they have to, in some cases, dismantle the mobile tower, take it from one place to another. So that is also defined. So next slide, is it visible? Is it visible? Next slide.
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So again, the ROW rules 2024 are in supersession of all previous rules and amendments. And of course, if any permission has been granted by 31st December, that those terms and conditions, they will not be superseded, right? And from 1st of January, new rules are to be followed by all the state governments. And if states are having their own portals, they had to modify by 31st December. And again, ROW applications are of two types, public property and for other than public property. Is the next slide visible?
Still it, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this is the most important slide for the today's presentation. So we, you can see in between there is a indication of the ROW portal, and facility provider submits the application and public entity examines the application. If application is okay, you can also see my cursor. If the application is okay, grant the permission. If no decision is taken in 67 days, there is a provision of automatic deemed permission. If automatic deemed permission is granted in next 7 days, we will have to generate a letter of approval with the terms and conditions, and then this approval goes into through the portal to the facility provider. If the application is not okay, then what happens? Then there is a provision to seek clarification, but the clarifications are to be sought within 30 days. It goes back to the facility provider, and if he does not reply within 15 days, then the ball is again in the court of public entity. They can take a decision based on the existing material with them. But if the application is not okay again, then what does he do? Then that means he is likely to reject the application. That means he has the intent of rejection. But before he actually rejects, he will have to intimate the potential reason for rejection. So with the intent, he has to intimate that I want to reject your application, and these are the reasons. Again, it goes back to the facility provider. He has to respond to the these questions, queries within 15 days. Again, it goes back, and then again he examines. If the response is okay, then he can grant the permission. If it is not okay, then he can take a decision on rejection within 7 days after 60 days. So then he can reject, but he has to select the reason for rejection. And in case of rejection, 90% fee is to be refunded within 15 days. And if the permission is granted, then he will submit the BG to carry out the work. But after the completion of the work, this bank guarantee is to be returned within 30 days of completion of restoration work. So whatever rules are there, we have tried to make a flow diagram, and as per this flow diagram, an ROW portal is being updated. And for the 11th state, the ROW portal is already working from 1st of January, and we will see what is the current status of implementation of other states. So it is next slide. It talks about the miscellaneous provisions. So is it visible, Amit?
It is yet to come, sir. Sir, if you give me 2 minutes, I can I can change the presentation, upload from my side, sir.
Better you do it.
Yes, sir. Just please, sir, wait for 2 minutes.
Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, okay. So this talks of the miscellaneous provisions, for example, the validity. So the permission has to be coterminous with the term of authorization or license or exemptions from such authorization license. It is under Rule 5. That means if somebody is having telecom license for 10 years or 15 years, then whatever permission is being given for ROW, it should be valid for the period which is coterminous with the validity of the license. And public entities shall not levy any fee, charge, rent, annuity or compensation or entry fee for access or seek any other financial contribution in any form. And no coercive action has to be taken, such as sealing, preventing access or forcible shutdown of the telecommunication network. It is mentioned in Act of 14(4). Applicable taxes, cess and levies. What are the applicable taxes? So charges payable under these rules shall be exclusive of taxes, cess and levies, but no property tax, levy or cess fee or duties to be levied on the tower as it has been delinked from the property. Act का 14(3) clause है. And day means all the public days including public holidays. Rule 22 में. That means 60 days और 67 days की जब हम बात करते हैं, उसमें कोई भी पब्लिक अगर हॉलीडे बीच में आता है, that is all inclusive. Next slide. Okay. So force majeure is also defined. Earlier it was seen that maybe some of the states, what they were doing, they were stopping the processing of ROW applications, citing the reason ki there is a cloud, there is a situation of flood in Uttarakhand or Kerala. So whole activity of processing was closed. But with the intention of allowing the processing of ROW application continuously, we have introduced this clause that in case the state declares a force majeure, which they can say maybe in case of war or hostilities or major riots or civil commotion, earthquake, flood, lightning or other natural physical disasters, or restriction imposed by the central government. So for that duration, establishment, operation and maintenance of underground, overground telecom network in public property and uses of street furniture will be paused, and timelines will be specified for the execution of work shall stand extended by the duration of any force majeure event. So for example, it will allow the states to process all the applications, but they can declare a maybe, for example, they have given permission in July, but they can say because of the flood, the force majeure exists for the next 3 months. So the TSP will not be able to work on the ground, even though he has been, but the advantage will be after 3 months, because his application has already been processed and he is having the ROW approval. So immediately thereafter, 3 months or 4 months, whatever the timeline is, he can start the work. So it will help the states as well as all the stakeholders. Next. So this slide sums up all kind of charges which are there in the ROW application. So I am not getting into the details, and even the clauses are also mentioned. Most of the charges are similar to what they were earlier, but there are some variations also. Next. So there is an important clause of survey. So in some of the properties of defense and some maybe the PSUs, it was felt that there is a need for the telecom service provider or the IPs to do the survey of the property so that they can come to know where actually do they want to install. So there is a provision for submitting the application for by facility provider, so he can submit on ROW portal, P can examine, and they have to give permission, or they have to settle the application within 7 days, and there is no fee for survey. Next. This feature has already been implemented on the Gati Shakti Sanchar portal. Next. Yeah, so this is about the establishment of temporary overground telecommunication network, rule 10. So there are two scenarios where we can feel the need of establishment of temporary overground. So we have clubbed together, although they are covered in different rules. So first is that facility provider is facing damage to any existing overground or underground property. So in case facility provider has been allowed to establish temporarily overground network and no permission from P is required for this. But the facility provider simultaneously will have to provide the details of the damage on the portal, what kind of damage has happened, and he will have to do the restoration within a period of 60 days. And the maximum limit of restoration is 90 days. That means if on some section your OFC has been washed away, you can lay it overground immediately without intimating the PE, but you will have to intimate what was the kind of damage, and restore the original position within 60 days, but not later than 90 days. So that means whatever this ROW clause give you the permission, it will not exist after 90 days, because you are supposed to restore the original OFC within 60 days or 90 days. Second position is when the central government or the state government directs you, or TSPs or the state government directs the concerned department about the in public interest or specific public events. So for example, Kumbh ka Mela lagna hai, so UP government or central government can give direction to its own department and TSPs is, please see that we are going to host this event from this period to this period, and you have to establish temporary overground network. Okay, so the one direction will go to FP and one direction will go to the public entity. For example, the Mela Pradhikaran jo hai aapka, the entity which is organizing, so state government will give direction to Mela Pradhikaran and to the facility provider that what kind of permissions are needed. So direction to public entity is to be given, because ultimately they will have to give the permission for the overground network layout. Okay, so in these two scenarios, there is a provision for establishment of temporary overground telecom network. Next. Yeah. So now we come to the street furniture. So facility provider can submit single application for single or multiple sites. That means in one application you can apply for one street furniture or hundreds of street furniture. You will have to submit a copy of the authorization license, details of the street furniture, and a copy of certification by a structural engineer, and which is authorized by PE. So it is important. So they will have to, if they are using some pole or some street furniture, so they will have to also give a certificate from a structural engineer which is authorized or listed on the website of public entity, and FP has to either restore any damage or pay compensation for any such damage. Suppose लगाने में कोई डैमेज होता है, तो जैसे OFC डालने में अंडरग्राउंड में रेस्टोरेशन करना पड़ता है, और कहीं पर दीवार डैमेज हो गया या कुछ कहीं पर एक्स्ट्रा क्लच लगता है, क्लैंप लगता है, उसका अगर कोई खर्चा होता है तो वो FP को देना पड़ेगा. And then public entity has to examine that there is no administrative fee or compensation fee for use of public building Only charges to be levied are for the power consumption and fixture as per actuals. And there is a bulk advance payment option, 5-year annual fees का advance दिया जा सकता है, which we discussed. Next. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is about the special project by central government in public interest. So in cases of, we will take the questions at the end. So central government can notify, for example, additional BharatNet जो project आया है उसको central government notify कर दिया है. So once the central government notifies and appoints a nodal person, that will come to the administrator of portal admin, and portal admin will create a special category for such project, give special power to the nodal person, and he will say, for example, he can say that, okay, in this area for additional BharatNet project is to be executed by Airtel or Jio or Vodafone, and accordingly we will basically allow Vodafone or Jio to submit an ROW application as a special feature on the portal under this project, and for this ROW there will be no fee, etc. And this will be examined by public entity, and they will have to grant automatic deemed permission within 7 days. And after 7 days, they will have to generate letter with terms and conditions. Next. So there are various rights of the facility provider, but there are various obligations of facility provider also. So they are shown here. First of all, they will have to make payments of all the amounts as per the specified terms and conditions which are given at the time of approval. And they will have to implement measures to mitigate public inconvenience and ensure public safety, including measures to ensure the structural safety of the overground telecom network while they deploy OFC or they deploy the tower. And they will have to give maintenance, update, digital information of underground telecom network established by that facility provider, including as built information at a frequency as specified by central government. So whatever OFC you are laying, please give the intimation, the GIS detail, etc., through positional intelligence or other appropriate technology, and to be shared, updated on demand. So as per this clause, I think we had a meeting yesterday with the all the TSPs, and we requested them to give this intelligence through the portal. And we have designated one officer, which is Himanshu, in our team. Next. So what are the powers of the public entity with respect to ongoing work? For example, the public entity has given the permission, and when they give permission, there are certain terms and conditions in the approval letter. So after granting the permission with the terms and conditions, public entity has to monitor, or they can inspect the execution site of the work which is being carried out by public entity. So if you see the two yellow arrow, so they can impose reasonable, relevant, and evidence-based conditions in writing as it may think fit. But before 2, let us go to 1A. So if there is an issue, and if the public entity thinks that FP has violated terms and conditions from grant of permission, he can give a notice on 1C. So 1A goes to 1B, 1B goes to 1C, notice to FP specifying conditions that you have violated this and this condition. It goes to facility provider. Again, he has to respond to public entity, and public entity has to respond within 15 days of the notice. So thereafter, the PE will have to examine, and once they examine, if everything is okay, then fine. But if they think that the work is not being carried out, they can impose further reasonable and relevant evidence-based conditions in writing, which they think fit. But if they think that the FP has grossly violated terms and conditions, they can encash in full or in part the BG, or they can withdraw the permission granted to FP, or they can do both. So there are 3 actions: withdraw the permission granted to FP, encash the BG, or both. Okay, so these are the powers. Another power is that FP thinks that the payment has not been made. For example, the permission is granted and he is given 15 days or 20 days or 10 days to submit the full payment, and he does not submit, then they can issue a notice for making the payment, and FP will have to respond within 15 days. And if the FP does not make payment even after 15 days, then PE may terminate the permission granted in the first place itself. And if everything is okay, no action is required. So these are the power to the public entities, the state government and the concerned departments who are granting the ROW permission. Next. Yeah. So we have discussed the application process about the public property. Now let us discuss the cases which are other than public property. So FP will have to, prior to commencement of establishment, they will submit an application in writing, facility provider. So first of all, facility provider will have to talk to that person, enter into an agreement with person who has ownership, control or management over such property. And FP and other person may mutually decide to get agreement registered under Registration Act 1908. That means it is left to the FP and that person whether to get it registered or not. And so, no, go to the previous one. Go to the yeah. So once they have entered into the property, for example, there is a private flat is there and somebody is trying to put up the tower there. So, okay, it is fine that you have entered into an agreement, but what is the role of public entity? So after having an agreement with the private person, the facility provider will go back to the portal, and he will also take a certificate by the structural engineer authorized by PE. So that means every municipality or state government entity which grants permission, they have, for example, the Noida Authority or Greater Noida Authority or Yamuna Development Authority, they have list of authorized architect which are mentioned in their website. So the FP will have to go to that architect, take his certification, and it is assumed since he is an authorized architect of the entity, he will give the correct certificate. If he gives the certificate, then it goes for information to public entity, and public entity in such cases shall not levy any fees or annuity or compensation or BG for establishment or O&M of telecom network in property other than public property. That means it is for their information, and since the approval has been given by a structural engineer, it is being considered largely it should be in line. If it is in not line, I think they should take action against the architect and remove from the doing any such kind of work in future. Next. Yeah. So what are the permission of the ROW other than public property by central government in public interest? So for example, now facility provider fails to reach an agreement with other than public property. So in previous slide, you saw that he had an agreement with the private property, and once they entered into an agreement कि कितना पैसा देना है, what are the modus operandi of operating the commercial and technical arrangement, he gets a certificate and he uploads. But suppose on a private property, it is necessary to establish tower, or OFC has to pass through that property, but that fellow is not agreeing or allowing the facility provider, or he is not having an agreement. Then in case, facility provider can submit an application with all supporting documents to the ROW portal, and it will be routed to the concerned district collector or designated officer. So what the DC will do in that case is, within 30 days of receipt of application, first of all, he can, in prima facie 4A, he can say, okay, prima facie, I don't agree, and he can reject the application on the ROW portal itself. Second 4B, what he can do, he can give a notice to person having ownership, control or management. Notice किस तरीके से देना है, that is also mentioned in the left side, that in the newspaper जहाँ पर वो रहता है या उनको registered post से भेजना है, all those things are mentioned. and person to respond, that person will have to respond to the notice within 15 days in writing in form provided for this purpose. एक फॉर्म भी वो साथ में अटैच करेंगे, उसमें उसको भर के रिप्लाई करना होगा. So this goes back to the DC, and then DC has to decide in writing whether ROW to be permitted in public interest within total 60 days. ये सारा काम 60 days में होना है. So after the person has responded, DC can decide. He can order, he can again reject the application, or he can order that he has to grant ROW permission, and he can also decide what are the terms and conditions. For example, area over which ROW and nature of telecom network to be established, and charges payable by facility provider. He can all decide, the DC. Next. Yeah, so there are important provisions. The right side figures or the photos are not mentioned in the ROW. They are just for the purpose of showing that what is the importance of common duct. It is similar to the benefit which a metro rail gives. Okay, so what are the provisions? So the provision is that central government DOT can notify an infrastructure project or class of infrastructure project, and in such cases, the public entity shall make available the duct on open access basis. So if we come to know through the request of NHAI or PWD or the LSA or any state government entity that so and so project is very important, and it is very important to lay the duct alongside that road. So for that project or class of project, DOT can issue instructions, and duct has to be built in an open access basis, that is non-discriminatory and non-exclusive basis, subject to payment of charges. So payment of charges should not be the monopoly charges, but they should be based on the prevailing market rates and the principle of cost recovery over a minimum period of 25 years. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जो रोड के कंस्ट्रक्शन करने वाले हैं या स्मार्ट सिटी वाले हैं, वो किसी एक वेंडर को पकड़ के उसको बिडिंग के बेसिस पे दे देते हैं. ही कॉट्स वेरी हाई प्राइस, एंड देन ही एक्ट्स लाइक ए मोनोपोली, and because the smart city or the road owning authority will not allow the any other party or TSP to lay the OFC, so this results into a monopoly situation. And what happens that the TSP, because they can't afford the high rentals, they will try to subvert this clause. So they will go here and there, maybe they will use unfair means, and they will go over the ground. So basic purpose of creating the duct is defeated. So this clause that the public entity which is creating the duct, they have to take a return on investment on a 25-year basis, and it should also not be or it should be at par with the prevailing market rates. And the second part is that such an entity shall have to provide an online application process for taking the application for provisioning of such ducts. So we have to still basically give the direction for any projects. So we are making that for what kind of project we can issue the direction and what is the need. And if we issue such direction, we will also not allow the TSPs or IPs to lay down the optical fiber cable on an individual basis, because now the both the basic conditions are taken care of. That means the charges will be reasonable, it will be non-discriminatory, non-exclusive, so there will be no rationale for giving individual permissions. So this will in the long run will help the country, because the duct prices will come down, the beauty of the cities, and whatever advantages you can see, that it will avoid frequent digging, decrease cost, multiple ROW permission will not be there, digital ready infrastructure will be there, improved aesthetics, and better for environment. So all this benefit will accrue to the society. Next. Yeah. So now this slide covers how to handle a property having telecom network. So there can be two cases. A person is having ownership over property. So now he wants to remove, relocate, alter overground, underground network. For example, NHAI का रोड है, रोड वाइडनिंग करना है, और वहां पर डक्ट था या OFC था, So he will issue a notice to FP that I want to removal of your OFC or duct. FP will have to submit a plan within 30 days. And facility provider will ensure removal relocation within 90 days maximum, bear responsibility and liability, including the cost for removal. But the person which will issue the notice shall defray such expenses from the compensations which that person may have deposited with the FP in the first place. उसमें से उसका पैसा वापस करना पड़ेगा. Second case could be that somebody is dealing with his property. For example, उसका बंगला है या उसका property है. For example, Coal India का plant है, SAIL का plant है, and they are doing some construction which can cause damage or interrupt or interfere with the overground underground network. So in such cases, before he takes up any work, he will have to upload on portal, and this portal you read as CBUD, a notice to exercise legal right, including presence of emergency if any, because emergency का rule अलग है, up to 2 hours से 24 hour का notice है. And once this intimation is uploaded on the CBUD, then facility provider shall provide network details falling under, over or along the property within 24 hours for emergency cases. In other situation, period of 7 days has been provided. इसका notification जो हमने बात की थी, इसका notification to link this portal with the name of CBUD is in process and will be issued. Next. Yeah. So again the same thing. ये CBUD के बारे में है. Property owner अगर उसको लगता है कि उसका जो काम है it can damage, interrupt or interfere, he will submit a notice on CBUD. 24 hours का emergency में है, 7 days का normal में है, facility provider को notice जाएगा. If there is no response, he can go ahead. अगर वो FP को कुछ कहना है, so he will also communicate through CBUD. And जो general damages के clauses हैं, वो यहाँ पर mention हमने किए हुए हैं, which are not part of the rules but mentioned in the Telecom Act. So in case damage होता है तो damage देना पड़ेगा जो भी खुदाई करने वाला है. So quantum of compensation will be equal to expenses incurred in repair plus restoration. और इसमें अगर कोई dispute होता है, it will go to district judge. There is a section 42(1) of the chapter 9th which prescribes that whoever causes damage to critical telecom infrastructure shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years or with fine which may extend up to 2 crores rupees or with both. So these provisions are also there in the Telecom Act. Next. Yeah. So that is all in general. So let us now come to what is the current status of implementation on the ground. So next 2 slide will give you the update. So as per ROW rules, there are 2 types of states. One is the onboarded states. That means उन state का portal NBM ने DOT ने बनाया है उनके लिए. So पहले 11 state थी, but after this notification of these rules, many more states have approached us. So this slide is for the onboarded states. So onboarded states का portal functioning राइट साइड में जहां पर टिक लगा हुआ है जो ग्रीन है उनका हमारा पोर्टल 1 जनवरी से चालू हो गया है. इट इज फंक्शनिंग. एंड जहां पर येलो दिखाया है वो पोर्टल अभी पाइपलाइन में है हम लोगों का. दे अप्रोच्ड अस at a later date and maybe in next I think by 24th उनका पोर्टल भी चालू हो जाएगा. As far as the ROW rules 2024 का endorsement is concerned, 1, 2, 3, 4 states have endorsed and I think other states must be in pipeline to issue the direction. And the direction to be issued is basically for you can say in the form of they are not to be adopted, rather in terms of the necessary guidelines to the subordinate departments that they have to follow this ROW rules 2024. Next slide. So here are the states which have their own portals and they said that they will be upgrading their own portal on their own. So out of that, Haryana has already upgraded, Madhya Pradesh has upgraded, Nagaland has upgraded, Uttarakhand has upgraded and UP has upgraded. and rest of the states must be in pipeline as far as the ROW rules compliance is concerned. 4 states have issued the orders: Manipur, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, and Uttar Pradesh. Rest of these states we are following up, and soon most of them will comply to that order. Next. So summary takeaways for today's meeting: that states having their own portal had to modify their by 31st December, and public entities shall not levy any fee, charge rent, annuity or compensation or anti-fee for access or seek any other financial contribution in any form. तो पहले ये काफी एक डोमिनेंट पावर जो अब्यूज होती थी कि सपोज आपको किसी बिल्डिंग में एंट्री करना है, कोई एयरपोर्ट है, कुछ है, तो दे यूज टू डिमांड. So this clause takes away that power, and permission to be granted has to be on non-discriminatory and non-exclusive basis. कि suppose दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट में किसी ने रिलायंस को परमिशन दे दी, तो सेम परमिशन विद दिस non-discriminatory charges एयरटेल को भी देना होगा, या बाकी जो टीएसपी है उनको भी देना होगा. Telecom network installed shall not be subjected to any claims, encumbrances, liquidation or the like relating to such property. तो सपोज कोई बिल्डिंग होती थी और उसको लिक्विडेट कर दिया, उसके ऊपर कोई फाइन लगा दिया, या उसको सेल करना है, उसके ऊपर कोई क्लेम है, तो टेलीकॉम टावर की जो उसके ऊपर होता था उसके ऊपर भी इशू आ जाता था. So now the telecom property has been segregated from the normal property, and it is also mentioned there will be no property tax, levy, cess, fees or duties from the telecom network, and again no coercive action. So I will request all the state officers who are present here, please don't take coercive actions. It is prohibited. It is prohibited in the Telecom Act 2024. So please don't take coercive action, because that will put you against the telecom law. So if there is any issue, that is to be settled through the provisions which are given in the ROW Rules and Telecommunication Act. Thank you. Any slide? I think I have covered all. So I am now open for questions.
So moving on to the question and answer session of the webinar, the participants may ask the question by raising their hands, and we will be taking up the questions one by unmuting a participant. Questions may be asked, please.
Amit, you can send the presentation to whoever is asking, or you can host on your website, or you can mail to all the participants. Okay.
Sir, and we will upload the presentation on Gati Shakti Sanchar portal also, sir.
It is already there.
Okay.
There is a video presentation wherein the spoken my spoken dialogues are also there. So it is already there on the Gati Shakti Sanchar portal.
Yes, sir. So we will share the address with all the participants. So please raise the question. ADG ANN may ask the question, please. Dilip Mahajan, sir, may ask the question, please. Dilip Mahajan.
Portal the portal rates which are to be incongruent. Gujarat has a portal, but the rates which are prescribed now as per the new rules of 2024, that to be made incongruent with the rules. तो इसके लिए कोई timeline नक्की करना है सर, क्या कैसे चलेगा, कब तक करेंगे?
Timeline 1 जनवरी था. 1
जनवरी से implement करना है करके all secretaries को order तो हो गया है, but ये portal के rates वगैरह अभी तक कुछ no one is taken up anything. So no, whatever demand notes and anything we are getting, they are all absurd, sir.
So that means they are not following the law. We have to bring to their notice that they have to abide with the law, and it should have been done by 1st of January.
Okay, sir. We'll again approach them for this.
Yes, please.
Next question from Pradeep Gaonkar. Next question is from Pradeep Gaonkar, please.
Hello, sir. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Sir, in Goa, we have noticed that most of the electricity department or cable laid on electricity poles, they are snapped by the electricity department officials. So, and there is no plan, the secondary plan where the cable operator or ISP service provider will lay the cable. So how to go ahead with this, sir?
No, whether the cable which you had laid on the electricity poles was authorized.
So earlier there was the electricity department having the policy and they was collecting the rent, sir. Now their contract is over on the 6th January, sir. And after that, on the 11th January onwards, they started to cut the cable, sir.
No, so legally they are right because your contract is over. So you should have basically extended the contract with them before the expiry.
But sir, now policy is a change as per the ROW rules 2024 that pole is charged 100 rupees per pole, sir. Then they by default they have to adopt that policy, no, sir?
No, they have to adopt a policy, but again, you have to apply as per that policy, and there has to be some structural certificate also for the fresh application. So, I think that in this case, you have not followed any of the process.
Okay.
So, have you submitted the application? Have they examined the application? I think they have taken note of the fact that whatever permissions you were having, your permission has expired. So simply they have removed it.
Yes, sir, but they also not given the timeline to renew, or they not told how to apply also, sir.
अरे भाई तो ये आपको लोकली कोऑर्डिनेट करना था ना वहां से, और इट शुड बी वेल विद इन द टाइम. 6 महीने 8 महीने पहले से आपको कोशिश करना चाहिए था. वंस द परमिशन इज ओवर, दे आर वेल विद इन देयर राइट लीगली.
Okay, sir.
So next question is from Town Planner VDA. Please. B. Vijayamurthy next. Town Planner VDA. Next, B. Vijayamurthy. Next question from B. Vijayamurthy.
Sir, in Jharkhand, basically, we had an agreement with the electricity department for poles. In 2016, we had got it at the rate of 600 per pole annually at an incremental rate of 10%. So today, in the change policy, are we bound to pay at the previous rate, or can we, convince them to charge us as per the new policy?
You should convince them to charge as per the new policy, because now the rules are there as per the Telecommunication Act, and all the state governments are supposed to follow it.
Right, sir. We have given this representation, right?
Next question is from Mr. Divyesh Thakur.
Good evening, sir. This is Rajkumar from Reliance Jio Mumbai. So just I want to put on all DOT officials notice that we are getting a tremendous delay from Forest Department for clearing our proposals at the final stage. Because in every state, the final clearance committee of the state is chaired by most of the cases in most states by chief ministers. But as per the written guideline of the states, this committee supposed to be conveyed once in a month. But this is not happening in many states. Because of that, this final permission of forest is not obtaining in many states such as Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Chhattisgarh, Punjab and all. And the second thing is, sir, this RW permission for cable laying in forest land. Earlier, till 2022, there was a waiver of considering the compensatory afforestation land. In some of the 2002 amendment in forest, they have re-implemented that condition that for cable laying also, the service provider has to give compensatory afforestation land. But in practical sense, this is not a realistic way. It is not applicable because in forest permission, we are not diverting any forest land. We are just passing on it and we are not making any tree felling, and we are going through the edges of the roads. For road department, that forest diversion is already happened once. So still the service provider has to comply with this condition. This is the second point, sir. And the third point is one of my colleagues is already, Sir Mahajan sir is already informed that this rate issue, even though many states in SAR's presentation, it is mentioned that 11 states are already implemented this act and synchronized their portal. But down the line, the authorities like municipal corporation and municipalities, they are still not following the scheduled rate prescribed in the act and rule. So kindly give some dates.
So for the implementation of ROW rules down the line, we have proposed a IT secretary conference, maybe in 2 to 3 weeks time, and at minister level, our minister will inaugurate that. The file has already been submitted, and wherein we will request all the IT secretaries to come to Delhi, and we will impress upon them the importance of adhering to the ROW rules and making the portal online as or active as early as possible. Secondly, regarding the chief minister, you are talking of the wild forest unit, wherein the chief minister is the chairman. So that meeting happens maybe in 6 months or 1 year. So because CM is the head of that committee, so you can give a list of state-wise list how many applications are pending to Mr. Nizamuddin. We can write to the chief ministers and we can take it up individually. As far as the other provisions of Forest Act are concerned, so we have been taking up with the Ministry of Forest the individual issues. So if you have additional issues, you can still inform to Mr. Nizamuddin. Nizamuddin, you are there. Please give your email ID here, though it is also mentioned in the presentation. आप chat में भी mention कर दो and invite the issues of forest, and we will take it up with the Ministry of Forest. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. We will provide the list.
Sir, now the last question, sir, of this session from Mitesh. Mitesh Visaria.
Yeah, yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Sir, I have two queries. In some states, still we are getting charges from the corporations, the local bodies over there, for laying underground cables, which we have laid earlier. So we have wrote to them. Now this is an extension of 202 policy. In 202 also, it was clearly mentioned no charges would be applicable.
Hello.
Now this policy is very much straightforward. Nothing is applicable. Still they are sending the notes.
ठीक ये निजामुद्दीन का ईमेल आईडी दो ना
निजामुद्दीन, मिस्टर निजामुद्दीन ने अपना ईमेल आईडी टाइप कर दिया है. इट इज director3
मैसेज कर दो ना
director3@broadbandmission.gov.in. Okay. And as far as your point is concerned, I think we need to educate. We are also holding conferences like this is also a conference, today's conference, to educate all the officers in municipality and the state government. So if the permission was granted or the application was processed up to 31st December, maybe the whatever charges they had charged, maybe they have charged, but after 1st of January, they should be charging as per the new order.
बाद में फोन कर दो.
Okay.
And sir, what is the thank you very much, sir, for the clarification. And the second thing is, what about property tax on the towers? How it is dealt in the policy?
Property tax 1 जनवरी के बाद नहीं लगेगा. पहला जो भी आपका चल रहा था वो
दिल्ली में कॉल करेगा.
सर कहीं मेंशन नहीं किया स्पेसिफिकली सर ये पॉलिसी में.
नहीं, पॉलिसी में मेंशन ये है ना कि भाई ये जो नए ROW रूल्स हैं they have come into force from 1st of January.
Okay.
So whatever is mentioned in the act and rules, it is effective from 1st of January. उसके पहले तो पुराना रूल चल रहा था ना जो भी था.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
so now we come to the closure of question and answer session. Sir, thank you, sir, for your valuable insights on the Telecommunication Right-of-Way Rules 2024, implementation aspects and role of state governments in creating digital infrastructure. As we come to close of the webinar, may I have the honor to deliver the vote of thanks, please. On behalf of the National Communication Academy, Ghaziabad, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Neeraj Verma, Administrator DBN, for gracing this occasion and sharing his invaluable insights. Special thanks to Sri D.K. Chakrabarti, Sir, Director General, National Communication Academy, Ghaziabad, for his inspiring words and leadership in organizing this webinar. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to Sri H.S. Zakar sir, DDG NCA Ghaziabad, for his kind and unwavering support in making this event successful. A big thanks to our esteemed speakers, Sri Devendra Kumar Rai sir and Sri Neeraj Kumar sir, for sharing their expertise on the telecommunications right-of-way rules 2024 and enlightening us with their knowledge. I also extend my gratitude to senior officers from state government, central government, Department of Telecommunication, and other esteemed participants for their valuable time, active participation, and engagement during webinar. With this, we formally conclude the webinar on Telecommunications Right-of-Way Rules 2024. Thank you, sir, and thank you all participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.